At 1 p.m. Eastern Time on June 12, 2026, the Trump administration issued a direct ultimatum. Anthropic's leadership was given exactly 90 minutes to voluntarily pull its flagship models from the global market or face immediate, forceful intervention. The threat was clear. If Fable 5 and Mythos 5 weren't removed, the government would impose emergency licensing controls, effectively seizing control over the model's distribution. Negotiation proved impossible. At 5:21 p.m., the Department of Commerce executed a formal export control directive, invoking national security authorities to finalize the shutdown. The directive's legal reach was total. It didn't just stop international sales. It barred access for any foreign national, including the researchers and developers working inside Anthropic's own U.S. offices. A single agency in Washington had, in less than 5 hours, criminalized the global use of a foundational technology, regardless of whether a user was in London, Tokyo, or San Francisco. Because Anthropic couldn't verify the citizenship of millions of users on a few hours' notice, the company had no choice but to implement a complete global dedeployment. The infrastructure collapse was instantaneous. Across the world, enterprise systems in finance, healthcare, and software as a service saw their core AI integrations stop responding. An automated fallback layer kicked in, forcing high-level enterprise queries into the older, less capable Claude Opus 4.8. For many companies, the drop in capability caused their automated workflows to fail entirely. The ban created a technical lockout at the source. The foreign-born researchers who had physically designed and coded these models found themselves legally barred from even logging into their own work. The June 12th outage demonstrated that a cloud-hosted utility is only as reliable as its local regulator allows it to be. The infrastructure meant to power global industry had failed its first real-world test of political resilience. The government's panic centered on the technical lineage of the Mythos class. This was a highly specialized architecture developed specifically for cybersecurity, and it was considered too dangerous for the general public. While the raw Mythos 5 model was kept under lock and key for select partners, Anthropic released its twin, Claude Fable 5, to the commercial market. Fable 5 shared the same core engine, but it was wrapped in a complex layer of gate-based classifiers. These filters were designed to catch and kill any prompt related to malware, chemical weapons, or advanced hacking. Anthropic also imposed strict commercial guardrails. The model cost twice as much as previous versions, and every user was forced into a mandatory 30-day data retention period for security monitoring. But the entire safety model rested on that external wrapper. If the classifiers could be bypassed, the raw, unrestricted power of the core model would be left completely exposed. On June 10th, a red teamer known as Pliny the Liberator demonstrated that Fable 5's defensive wrapper could be systematically dismantled. The attack used what Pliny called a pack hunt exploit. He masked malicious intent using Unicode homoglyphs and stretched his instructions across long conversation loops to slip past the real-time filters. The most effective technique was decomposition. The attacker prompted the AI to explain individual benign coding fragments that looked like harmless exercises. Once through the filters, Pliny used an older model to reassemble the pieces into a functional exploit. The result was actionable. Fable 5 generated working C code for stack buffer overflows on Linux and detailed instructions for disabling critical memory protections. The exploit proved that safety wrappers were failing to keep pace with the logical capabilities of the models they were supposed to control. While Pliny's hack was public, the actual trigger for the federal order was a private audit conducted by Anthropic's own business partner. Researchers at Amazon Web Services conducted their own security probes and successfully used Fable 5 to generate exploits for live software vulnerabilities. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy took those results directly to the Treasury Department. The conflict of interest was staggering. Amazon, the primary investor funding Anthropic's hardware, was the same entity that flagged its software to the government as a national security risk. This internal cleavage accelerated the crisis, leading to a shutdown that disrupted not just Anthropic, but AWS's own regional cloud endpoints. The fallout in Europe was immediate and severe. British MP Tom Tugendhat noted that dozens of UK hospitals and research firms had their operational capabilities severed overnight by a decision made in Washington. The event forced a realization that digital sovereignty is no longer about owning the hardware. It's about having guaranteed, uninterruptible access to the software. In France, politicians like Bruno Retailleau used the blackout to call for massive state backing for domestic AI providers. arguing that Europe could no longer afford to be a technological vassal of the United States. This panic coincided with the G7 summit, where leaders were struggling with supply chain resilience and Chinese export restrictions on critical minerals. The de-deployment proved that software access could be used as a lever of state power, prompting allies to treat American cloud dependencies with the same strategic caution they applied to critical mineral supply chains. The Fable 5 crisis exposed a fundamental architectural risk. Relying on a single, centralized cloud API is a massive single point of failure. Export controls can legally override any private contract with zero warning. When a government orders a de-deployment, business continuity is ignored. To survive this new landscape, enterprises are moving away from monolithic cloud dependencies towards resilient multimodal architectures. The solution is an active fallback framework, using open weights models hosted on localized, secure hardware that can take over the moment a primary cloud provider is forced offline. When a cloud provider's primary loyalty is to its local regulator, true operational security depends on an enterprise's ability to run its own systems on its own hardware.